I will stand on the established protocol and I will tender my unreserved apology for being here late. Not what I want to do, but I will admit my guilt with explanation that I was to be picked up from Lagos at 12 o'clock. I was at the airport at 11 o'clock, and I was not picked up until 1:45. So that's why I am here, not at the time that I should be here. General Abdulsalami Abubakar, congratulations. And if you will permit me, I would say 4 military leaders have made tremendous contributions to Nigeria of today. And without their contribution, we will not be where we are. They are all not perfect human beings. They all made mistakes, but they all made contributions without which we could have not been able to have Nigeria of today. Let me emphasize that I am talking of military leaders, not Nigerian leaders. Military Nigerian leaders. And let me begin by saying I'm an eyewitness and a direct participant in almost all the actions and activities of the 4 of them. If you kindly permit me, I will speak briefly on 3 and more copiously on 1. I start with our Oga as a military leader. And of course, I'm referring to General Yakubu Gowon, who launched his long-awaited book about a month ago. I had to tender again an unreserved apology for my not being able to attend the launch. I explained in my letter of apology to you. But at his 90th birthday anniversary, almost 2 years ago, I said a bit of what needs to be said without his mature and nationalistic way of handling the post-second coup crisis, the Nigerian story would have been much different from what it is today. And that post-second coup crisis included the Civil War. The second person was Murtala Muhammad. Last March, we celebrated 50th anniversary of his death. He hastened bringing democracy back at the time he did and lifted Nigeria up internally and internationally. The third was Adekunle Fajuyi, who displayed uncommon loyalty and courage and chose to die for the unity of Nigeria. Maybe more should be said about him in future. The fourth, of course, is the one who has gathered us here and who we are celebrating today. And it is you, my brother, General Abdulsalami Abubakar. A great military leader, an officer and a gentleman, a patriot and a nationalist, an elder statesman and a peacemaker. You sagaciously managed the seeming confusion and uncertainty that followed Abacha's death. You emerged from the clouds and carefully proceeded to untangle the nation politically. Political prisoners were released, and I was, as has been said by the President of the Senate, a beneficiary of that. Your next move was how to get MKO Abiola released. And you got me regularly informed and also to relate messages to the family. Kola was already in Abuja to pick up his father when the unexpected happened. I remember you telling me on telephone, our man is dead. Who is our man? Was my question. And I screamed when you mentioned Abiola. And again, following advice, you handled post-Abiola demise dexterously. And within less than 1 year of your taking office, we had democracy restored. And 27 years after that restoration, we still have democracy. I should tell this august audience that not only did you initiate and ensure the restoration of democracy, you sustained it. Not only because of the peace that you had worked with other people, but the way you actually work with me after I took over. Can I forget how regularly you come with a piece of paper with all the points that you wanted to discuss with me about what is going on, about what should be done, about how you saw things, and we sat down and we look at them one by one. I answered what could be answered on the spot and what could not be answered on the spot. I gave you an answer within 24 hours. That was a magnificent way of sustaining what you have initiated, and I cannot thank you enough. I must say that I learned and I cherish that from what I had when I was military head of state. And I just want to give two examples of what I learned at that time. There were 3 or 4 Nigerians who I will run to or will call me and give me pieces of advice. One was Dr. Ibiam. Another one was Sir Kashim Ibrahim. Another one was Chief Adebo. Another one was the Sultan of Sokoto. And let me give 2 or 3 examples. In 1977, the economy was very bad, extremely bad. And we banned a number of things. And then came the pilgrimage to Mecca. The year before, 1976, 150,000 or thereabout went to Mecca, and we supported them with foreign exchange. 1977, we couldn't do it. How will I handle this? I went to Sir Kashim Ibrahim in Maiduguri. And when I told Sir Kashim said, go to the Sultan. Within 48 hours, I was in Sokoto. And Sultan said to me, how many people do you want to go to Mecca? I said, sir, I'm not the one to determine the number of people who will go to Mecca. But we cannot support 150,000. He said, how many can you support? I said, sir, I don't want to mention any number. He said, tell me. I said, maybe about a third. He said, you can go. The Sultan set up a committee. And that year, 48,000 people went to Mecca. And I was not, my hand was not in it. I was not blamed for it. It was accepted. That was what I learned from going to people, elders, and using them, and use did that to me. The other thing was when in 1979, the first time women will vote in the North, and there were rumors that it may not go well. There might be protests. I went again to the Sultan. And the Sultan said, "What is your problem this time?" I said, "The voting." And the Sultan said, "Voting? You don't want people to vote?" I said, "No, women will vote for the first time and we had this problem." And Sultan said, "If that's your problem, go home. On the day of election, my wife will be the first to go out to vote." And that's what happened. And that was the way that was settled. The other example I want to give was what today is even part of our Constitution, the Land Use Act. When the Land Use Act was promulgated as a decree, a colleague of mine in government came to me and said, "Sir, this your Land Use Act is not liked by anybody. The North doesn't like it, the South doesn't like it." And jokingly I said, "Well, we are making progress. When we come up with a plan or a program or a policy, it's either it's too much in favor of the North and the South doesn't like it, or too much in favor of the South and the North will not like it. This time we have been able to have a policy that both the North and the South will not like. That's progress." And we laugh about it. And then we heard that Agbekoyas in Ibadan will go on protest. I went to Chief Adebo and I said, "Baba, this is what I've heard. What can you do to help?" He said, "Shegun, I cannot help you. You have to help yourself. Go out to Agbekoya in their houses and explain things to them." I left Lagos at 2 a.m. By 4 a.m. I was in Ibadan. By 5 a.m. I was going to villages around Ibadan. By 8 a.m. I have visited more than 12 villages in Ibadan, meeting Agbekoyas in their houses and the leaders. And then we were able to suppress the Agbekoya protest on land use decree. And that's why the Land Use Decree or Land Use Act is able to stand till today. Again, the use and the help that you get from people who have the interest of country at heart and who are able to give the type of help to sustain whatever you are doing. In your case, to sustain me and democracy in power. 84 years.